Well, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the 13 children of David and Della Myers. You know those names on the t-shirts that we get for every family reunion? I bet you people are wondering who exactly were these people. And I know you knew them, so let us know what you remember.
Claude and his mother, actually, grandma lived on the corner, Kelly Street in Intervale. We were like in the middle of the block with Kelly. And Uncle Coon and Aunt Lucille lived a little further up the block. So we used to see them, all the time. And Allie, I think for part of the time, lived over there with Claude and Grandma. But my Aunt EVANNA, and she had, I think she had 2 girls and 3 boys. She lived on Dawson Street, which was across the backyard. So the back of our houses faced, we could go to the back and talk to her out the window, where you could, if you went to her house, you could go through the backyard rather than all the way around the block to get there. And EVANNA was, I guess all of Myers women were tough cookies when it came to it, but she was really, and she was big, and they used to call her Big Sis. So she was the oldest one, but she was, really great. Her husband was, we call him Uncle Sam's, but I think his name was Charles, too. So I'm not sure how he got Uncle Sam, but we call him Uncle Sam. And one of the kids was named after him, named Charles, and we called Chi-Chi. And their oldest son was Teddy, Theodore, we called Teddy, and then they had another son named David, named after the grandfather, I guess my grandfather. And they had 2 girls, one was Mary Ann, she was the youngest, we called her Mickey, and the other was Ruth. What do we call Ruth? Sister. So you had a lot of sisters and brothers. We called her sister. But EVANNA was, she was big, and like I said, she was tough. And nobody didn't give any lip. But she was, nice. Now, they used to party. She and her husband and my folks used to party a lot. But the partying for the Myers always ended in one way. So it was always, something like that. They would get together, and, the evening would start with everything nice and people dancing, and but then as the drinking went on, somehow they would, it would somehow turn to, fighting. And same with the men, they, get together, everything's nice, but after a while, they keep drinking, and then next thing you know, they're ready to fight. So I guess something happens when you're drinking, right? That causes that. But and EVANNA and Uncle Sam was smaller. He was smaller than she was, like, and and they would get into fights, I guess, all the time. But she was good, and we got along with all their kids, great. And they were all there, all right around there. And when Aunt Beulah came up with Rufus and then her kids, they moved not far from us on Tiffany Street, which was, just about 2, most 3 blocks away from us. And we had, all of those kids added to the bunch then. And, Rufus Jr., Anna, what was that youngest daughter name?
Vera?
Vera, yeah. I was trying to tell what that Vera. And then you had Archie and Eugene. So it was more kids. But then Beulah was, beautiful too. She was, one of those, tough ones. I remember her saying, she was on the subway and somebody stepped on her corn. And she pulled herself up, pulled her feet off the ground, holding on to those subway straps. And the guy said, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. She said, you don't know how sorry you would be if we wasn't on the train. And at Della didn't take, and she was real tough, and she didn't necessarily was nice all the time. She was, I guess get after you, but she was, another typical, Myers woman. And I told her they lived near us, and I don't remember her and Uncle Mark fighting at all, though. So somehow maybe they, at least I wasn't exposed to it. And Della was just one of those, you didn't fool around with her at all. And some of the others, you could fool around a little, but, she wasn't one to get, fool around like that. And
nonsense, huh?
Right. And Allie was, of course, more like, big sister. And she and Lizzie were, even close, but she was more like that, just like Claude was, because she was, one of the younger ones.
Close to y'all's age.
Yeah. So you could always, you could fool around with her and stuff like that, so didn't even really. And you notice we called her Allie, we didn't say Aunt Allie. But the others we would say Aunt EVANNA, Aunt Beulah, and so on, Aunt Della. They were old enough that you definitely use that. But so that was it. Who was the?
Oh, you said you would remember everyone.
Well, I did.
Well, you have Uncle Leroy, the Shorty.
Well, okay, I'm saying the aunts though.
Oh, aunts?
Yeah, Allie and Della and Beulah and EVANNA. Right? Yeah. That's it. And my mother was, of course, that's the fifth.
Oh, well, you got to talk about her too, because there are people that are going to watch this that don't know her.
Yeah, well, you know her.
He should know more.
No, she was typical Maya woman too. She didn't take no stuff, but she'd be ready to mix it up with you if you tried to do it. Mama, we could at least kid around with her, at times. I don't know how the nephews and nieces felt about it, but and Mom and Pop would get into it just like EVANNA and Uncle Sam. So one incident I remember, we were on living on 178th Street, and we were in the basement. That's where we were super. So I remember one night, boom, Mama comes in the door, in the door. She went in the kitchen and got every knife she could find, and then she went to her bedroom, and we were looking like, what's going on? She went to the bedroom, she opened the drawer, she sat on the bed, and there's a drawer in the little night table there, put the knives in the night table. And then next thing you know, Pop comes running. He left the car parked in the middle of the street. Not parked, he just left the car in the middle of the street. And he comes in. And he goes in the room and closed the door, and then, you could hear all kinds of stuff going on until we, knocked on the door and opened it and, got things settled down. And she never did get those knives.
Yeah, but there was going to be some big things going down.
And of course, by the time everything settled the next morning, they were friendly and happy and everything. So I guess when everything wore off, that was it. But somehow they could find a reason to mix it up once they got, I guess you call it fire water, somehow. Shorty was, you knew him a little, right? Shorty was tall. He was taller than me, but they called him Shorty. He was big. And he was a drinker and a fighter. Every time you saw him, he was drinking and fighting always getting into something. But you know, we got along with him. He was a little younger too, and he used to, him and Claude, Matt and them used to get together. So you know, so we could fool around with him and so on and talk to him. So he was, but you know, he was good. But anytime you saw him, you know, if you needed something, he'd give it to you. But he was ready to drink, ready to fight. And Oscar was in that age range. We didn't know till you know, much later. He was down south. And you had the Sheik. You know who that was?
Mark?
Sheik.
What was that?
One of the brothers.
Yeah. Was it Mark?
Who?
Who is he? Marion.
That's it, Marion.
Marion. I'm thinking, I knew it was an M. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we call him MACK. And he was a ladies' man. That's why they called him the Sheik. There was a movie called The Sheik out at that time with, you know, I guess with I forgot who the actor was in it, but anyway.
You know Valentino or something?
Yeah, right. And so he was a ladies' man and always, you know, and he was good looking and definitely could attract the women and so on. But he was a guy, you know, he was always fun and laughing, and you could, and always drinking. But, you know, him you could fool around with too and, you know, have fun with. And then you had Uncle Frank. Now, Uncle Frank, you know, didn't fool around with a lot, but he was a nice guy. He had 3 kids, right? He had 1 boy, 2 girls. And Lorene was the oldest girl, and the other one we used to call her Dump. I can't think of her name offhand, but they had Frank Jr. was the son. And they used to live a few blocks from us when we lived on 178th Street. So we used to go over there and, you know, play with, well, the youngest one played with Frank Jr., who we called Bubba. We called him Bubba. We used to play with him a lot. And he was, we were smaller than him, and he was a character. He used to be playing with him, like you got you know, playing cowboys or something. And somebody, he would jump out something, you say, bam, bam, I got you. And then he said, no, you missed, boom. He would take every opportunity to bowl you over or something and knock you out. He was tall too. He was, you know, for his age, he was big.
Yeah.
But yeah, then they moved to Brooklyn from the Bronx, and then we, you know, hardly saw him after they did that. But his wife, Aunt Rose, was really nice. And yeah, we used to love you know, she would, you know, always giving you stuff and so on. And she was really like very calm and so on. Uncle Frank looked like white, though, you know, you couldn't tell him from a white guy. He was similar to Uncle George.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they really were, the complexion was so light, if you didn't actually know it, you wouldn't think of them as being black.
So they could have passed back in the day.
Yeah, easily. I'm you know, sure at times they did, especially Uncle Frank, because he somehow even more. If you ever saw pictures of him, or if you see pictures of him, you'll see, you know, just how he was. But they were all, you know, workers. I guess, you know, they always, you know, you never knew of any of them that didn't work. You know, they all worked and, you know, I guess had their money and they, you know, treat you and give you stuff and so on. And, you know, and you could, as you grew up, you know, you could have more fun with them then, you know, you could, you know, talk with them and even drink with them. And then you got along really well with them. But Mack, he got married. I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah, Mack married. He married, when we were on Kelly Street, he had married a girl that lived across the street from us. And they had 2 kids. But those guys were, you know, could be abusive too. And
the kids?
Not to the wives, you know. I mean, because that whole generation, I mean, it was nothing to, to be smacking a woman around and so on and things. But anyway, I think she got fed up with him. She took the 2 kids and left him and us, and we never saw him again.
Wow.
Never saw him again. And I would think the kids are still around, but maybe she could still be around, but we never, saw him again. Nobody ever saw him. And then also, Teddy, one and EVANNA's oldest son, he got married. I think they had at least 2 kids, possibly 3. And then he took off, and we never saw him again. I don't know where they went, but there were some people. I guess there's one other one that was similar. I guess that Maya's culture, they got too much of, or they didn't like it, or they didn't want to be part of it. That drinking and fighting,
violence.
Yeah, and got out of what's her name, Mary Ellen, Blanche's oldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
Was another one. She, we hardly saw her. She was still near New York, but she didn't really hang with the family that much. So, but she and Teddy left. People said he went out to Colorado or something, but he just didn't contact the family anymore, and that's it. Now, Uncle George was he was real rough. You didn't fool around with him at all. Yeah, he was tough. He was born in 1897, but he was big, and I guess in the summer he'd be red, and we called him Uncle Red. And
he's somebody looked like he could pass.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so that we ended up calling him Uncle Red, Uncle George. But he was somebody you didn't fool around with either, So
that was either whether he was drinking or not, huh?
Right. Right. Either way, but I can remember he was a superintendent. I used to do my work for him during when I was in high school. On Saturday, I would go over and mop his halls down and roll coal for him. And I made a little money that way, but and I got along with him, in that way, because I'd go over and help out. He would pay me, and that was it. So, but I did that for a while. I guess on Saturday morning I had to get up and go and do some work for different people, and help make some money. I think I did some work here for Minnie and Donald. Remember Donald and Minnie? Blanche's sister Minnie.
I know Minnie.
Yeah, and her husband was Donald.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was Uncle Red, or Uncle George's daughter, one of his daughters. He had 5. And they had a house. They were like superintendents in a house near 178th Street where we were. So I used to go over and mop their halls down. And so I did, some mopping, rolling coal, whatever, it took to get money, and then Dot would be the beneficiary of it. As I take her out after I made the money and so on. But but we had a good time knowing all the aunts and uncles, and when they would get together. At least the initial part was was great. If you got them apart long soon enough, you'd be it. When we started the Myers family reunion, that was the thing everybody used to say. He said, "No, we're trying to keep these people apart. We ain't trying to get them together." You get together. Then
who was the person that initiated it, or brought it up and said, "Let's do this"?
I think Blanche was there.
I think so too.
Yeah, she was the initiator, and and again, who was it? I guess she got Vicky involved, but But that was the first thing we were saying, man, you don't want to get them all together. And sure enough, I think the first reunion, who was it, Claude and Cliff or something? I'm trying to say, Cliff did something. And you know, I Claude, it was Claude you get him irritated, boom, you know, so Claude say, I mean, goddamn, if we gonna do something, you know, something that Cliff said, say, whoa, wait a minute, let's start over. But it was funny. I mean, it was just something you could expect, that you just had to just be on the lookout for it. And that's it. Somebody say something wrong, or you know, touch somebody wrong or something like that.
Gosh.
That's it.
Especially you talk about everybody bringing all their kids and cohabitating and everything.
Yeah.
You'd think that it, you know, it wouldn't get like that, but I guess you weren't drinking all the time.
Yeah. But no, I mean, if you saw them and they weren't drinking, they're the best of friends, and you know, they do anything, help each other out and all of that.
Yeah.
And get together for a party or something. Everybody's friendly, of course, until a certain point that somebody would just, you know, I guess somehow became more sensitive to language and stuff like that. So.
Talk about your grandmother.
Grandma, well, I told you how she took care of all those kids when Pop and Mom and Uncle Mark and Della came to the city, moved up. So, but she was, I mean, we used to think of her as mean because you didn't get away with stuff with her. You know, she didn't mind getting a switch and keeping you in line. And that was the thing, I guess, that we always remembered, that she would definitely keep you in line. You didn't play around with her, you know, no joking and all of that. But other than that, you know, you could talk to her and, you know, spend, especially as we got older, you know, it was good talking to her and, you know, spending time and hearing stuff. You know, things that happened before down south, and some of the people, you know, in fact, great to be able to talk to her like that. And she was around, I think she passed away just before Pop did.
Yeah, it was a close succession, for sure.
Yeah, close in there. So she went on for, you know, quite a while.
And I remember when she used to live upstairs with Grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And Rusty, your uncle and I, we used to run upstairs. We used to want to see great grandma all the time, and we'd sit there with her, and she'd talk to us, and loved it. Yeah. And you see, that's funny. You saw her as a disciplinarian. I saw her as like one of the most gentle people I've ever met.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was a kid. I mean.
Yeah. So maybe by then, but she, you know, I mean, she had the 13 kids, and I think it turned out to be 68 grandkids. So,
yeah.
And if she had to care for so many at one time, I mean, you gotta be a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
To it. So, I mean, even the 13 kids, and they weren't all angels. So, you know, so she had to be, you know, able to put her foot down. But, yeah, but it was great knowing them all. And EVANNA lost both legs, and she was in a wheelchair with both legs. And I remember calling her one time. We were going over to see her, and I called her and told her, "Oh, I just wanted to tell you we coming. You know, wanted to come by or something." She said, well, I was going to tell you, boy, if you don't come over here to see me when you come to my funeral, I'm going to reach up out the coffin and get you. I said, no, we'll be there. Don't worry. You won't have to do that. But she had a funeral over on Washington Avenue.
I don't remember exactly where her funeral was. I remember I remember Annie Van. I remember,
Yeah,
I remember going to see her in Soundview when she lived in Soundview and all that stuff.
yeah. Yeah, that's where I went over the last time I saw her, Soundview, and when she died, I think David was in charge. Her son David was in charge, and they had a funeral over on Washington Avenue, right off Tremont. There was some kind of something there that I think became a church or something. But anyway, that's where I remember her funeral being. He was named Willie. We had a few others in the family. I guess they were Willies. And so Nell and them always correct people when they say William.
Yeah.
It says Willie. So, yeah, he was born on February 28th, the same as my mother. But he was younger.
Okay.
They had the same February 28th birthday. I forgot what year his was, but
1912.
12. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, Mama was 1909. That's 3 years, 9, 10, 11, 3 years difference. Okay. Yeah, but Uncle Bill, I guess his brothers used to always call him Bad Eye. I'm not sure why. They'd all say Bad Eye. Maybe he didn't shoot straight or he had a bad eye somewhere. But his family came up to New York after we had lived in Harlem and the Bronx, and then moved up to 178th Street in the Bronx, up around Boston Road, Tremont, and then they moved up, and I guess his brothers like Uncle Coon and them got him a super job, and so they were superintendents, I guess, right near us, around 174th Street and Southern Boulevard. Or Boston Road, right where Boston Road crosses Southern Boulevard.
Yeah.
Train station there. So, but he was, I guess Uncle Bill was, he was one of the calmer ones. He wasn't always getting into fights or anything like that. And so everybody, I guess really liked him. And of course his wife, Aunt Julia, she was a James. And she was really good. She always treated you nice, gave you something to eat all the time, anytime you were around, and so on. And so everybody loved her. And Uncle Bill was just like a good drinking buddy. He'd sit and talk with you and drink with you, and loved to tell stories, and so on. So. And I can't remember him ever, getting into any kind of fight or argument with anybody.
With the rest of them.
Right. So I guess he was more of a peacemaker and just try to stay out of all the mess like that. But we could have fun with him, you could sit and drink with him and tell stories and as we used to call it, tell lies all night long with that. But and he was, I guess, as long as he was up here, he had this superintendent's job, and mostly in that area, right there, 174th Street near Southern Boulevard, in the, I guess it was near Soundview, but not in Soundview.
Yeah.
Area, and and I remember Uncle Bill, we went down. I forgot whose funeral it was, but we went down south to a funeral, and I think I had mentioned before how we, drove going down to the funerals. Everybody drinking all the time, but this time I didn't drive down with him, and he and Marvin, his son, when we were coming back, I guess they were out, or at least Marvin was out, drinking moonshine and so on. And it was a Sunday night. We were getting ready to leave and drive, all the way back to New York. As soon as we got started, good Marvin, after drinking so much down there, couldn't drive anymore, and I had to switch and go back and drive his car with Uncle Bill and Aunt Julia in the back seat. And those roads, so we were heading, we headed up there, and I guess we hit North Carolina pretty fast, and it seemed like it takes forever to get through North Carolina. But Uncle Bill was back there, and he didn't want me to go to sleep because I had been drinking too. So he just kept, every time he saw a car coming, he would say something, car ahead, you know. And then he see a curve ahead. He went on like that for I guess a couple of hours or a few hours just to make sure that I was seeing the road clear somehow. But that was funny. It's something that always stuck with me, and I remember him, doing that. But those roads, I guess they were dangerous, and you weren't really paying attention. If something stopped in the road, or somebody crossed the line, or you missed the curve or something.
And dark, right?
And of course, we were, always driving fast. And like I said, I think I was probably following Nate at the time. And but anyway, we were able to, to get through that thing okay.